Welcome to From Ladder to Legacy, the podcast where ambition meets purpose. Here we go beyond the climb, because success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about building something that lasts. Whether you're leading a team, growing a business, or crafting your life's mission, this is your space to reflect, rise, and redefine what legacy truly means. Let's trade burnout for breakthrough, grind for growth, and position for purpose. This is From Ladder to Legacy.
So we have ourselves here a wonderful TGIF. I'm with the man, the myth, the legend, Leo as I know him. And he is with LuxCon Builders. He's with a roofing company he owns. He is the man with the plan and is here today to talk to me about how he got there. This is From Ladder to Legacy. Leo, I'm excited to have you on, buddy.
Man, thank you so much for inviting me. I've never done such a thing or a podcast. A little nervous, but I guess the point is I'll just be honest. And I think everybody has a story, and I have a really unique way on how I got to where I am today.
And that's exactly it. So what I've been trying to find is people in the Palm Beach area, you know, sort of my story as well, from New York originally, but moved down to this area. And I'm trying to find people in the Palm Beaches that embody, we'll call it that American dream, that
Right.
from the corporate world and decided to say, hey, you know what? I'm done with this. Let me go figure out something else with my life, and found some success. Again, success is a sliding scale, but I think with that wonderful background photo you got there, or is that real? I think you found some of it. So tell me, how'd you do it, man? What's the secret? I'm sure there is, and everyone wants to hear it. So what's the secret?
The secret is not giving up, right? And so it's nothing worth doing is ever easy. And then there's ups and downs, and there's times that it stinks. But I guess if you really want to do something, you just keep at it and chipping away. And eventually something breaks, and then you have a breakthrough. And that breakthrough snowballs into something bigger and something bigger. And next thing you know, you got momentum. And then the bigger the momentum, then you just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that's the secret, you know? The secret.
So when you talk about this momentum, this breakthrough, so what was your break? So obviously you worked in the corporate world. I know, and we'll talk about it. You finance background. I think you have a master's, and you're building out. I'm just trying to figure out, how'd you end up from, a balance sheet and Excel files to, are you swinging hammers these days, or are you just telling guys to swing hammers?
No, and the truth is, I've never swung a hammer. And that's just the dead truth. So my story is really, really unique. I went to Florida State, and I was the first person in my family. I'm Brazilian. I was born in Brazil. My family, just a little background here. So I was born in Brazil, and my family moved to the U.S. in '92 to Orlando. My dad started a business where, you go to Disney World and you take the 35 millimeter films. Remember those, the disposable cameras? And then you go to Disney and you have like 5 rolls of film. So people want to see the pictures the next day. Today we have iPhones and we see it like in the same second. So my dad started developing all these films, and I came in '94 and I was 10, but I didn't want to do that. So I went to college and I said, what do I want to do? I said, I don't know. Everybody was failing accounting. I did well. So I said, I should be an accountant. Well, I did accounting. I got my master's. I finished in 08. And guess what happened in 07, 08? The market crashed. Well, so now I had this master's in accounting, which was great, that I couldn't really get a job because it's like, hey, are you going to give this brand new kid with no experience, with a master's degree in accounting, like, I don't know, maybe $55,000 salary at the time, or you're going to give somebody who got laid off and has like 6-7 years of experience, and you probably get them a little bit cheaper. So I couldn't get a job in accounting. So I decided to work retail. And then I was living in Miami at the time because I graduated Florida State, moved to Miami in 06. Had an internship with BDO Seidman. They're like one of the big accounting firms like PricewaterhouseCoopers and Ernst & Young. And they didn't ask me back. And they're like, hey, we're slowing down. We don't know what the market is happening and whatnot. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to work retail here, I might as well go to work retail in California. So I went to LA and I lived by the beach, and I became a cyclist and a runner. I was working at a bike shop. And then I got a job in finance. But then I was like, you know what? I want to open a business. So I decided to open a running shoe store because I've been a runner most of my life. Started running at the age of 14. I'm in my 40s now. And I decided to do it back in Florida, and I did it in Miami Beach. So I partner up with a local running company, and we opened a store in 2012 on Miami Beach, right off of like a Venetian Causeway, like the Sunset Harbor area. A couple months later, a lady comes in and goes, "Are you a personal trainer?" At the time, I was in my late 20s. I was like, "Yeah." I was hosting and running groups and running clinics, like doing CrossFit was really big at the time. But I said yes. Comes to find out, her husband is a big developer at Miami Beach. No idea. So 6 months into training, I'm 3 days a week. And we get to know somebody and you figure it out. And he goes, "Hey, you're a smart kid. I need you to come work for me." And I was like, "What? What's my job title?" I was like, I don't know. But I said yes. So I give up the dream of like selling a pair of shoes, like running shoes, to maybe go build big houses in Miami Beach. And that's how it all started. And I remember my first day on the job, I'm like excited. I got a little bit more money. And I was like, "What's my job title?" He goes, "Everything. You're responsible for everything. Anything that needs to be done, you need to do it. Whether it's, making a copy, meeting the inspector, going to the job site, directing." But I never did anything. And I was 100% responsible. Like I've been doing this for 20 years. It was really, really cutthroat. But then you either sink or swim really fast. So at the time, this is, fast forward 2 years later, it's 2015. There's my first son I have 3 kids. My first child is born, and I'm really not having a good time. It's just really difficult. The stress, you're working 6 days a week, sometimes 7. Put it this way, it was Miami Marathon weekend, and there was a $22 million house I'm showing my wife on a Saturday afternoon. I just picked up my running packet for the Miami Marathon, and the whole house has 2 inches of water on limestone flooring. So it's one of those like, well, what do? You get on the phone, you don't have time to think about, oh my God, oh my God. It's like you pick up the phone, you call every person you know that might be working a different job, about 15 to 20 guys. Everybody shows up and we're getting the water out. We're calling ServPro. Once everybody was in, like maybe 40 minutes later, I called the owner, and it's the hardest conversation I have to have. It's like, "Hey, your $22 million house has 2 inches of water." And then from there, it started. So you go on to get this opportunity to build for a developer, not knowing anything. You get more responsibilities. And then I got a phone call to go build a high-rise building. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Never done a full 7-story Marriott residence in 90 rooms. I'm like, okay, where's the job? Well, the job was in Tierra Verde, which is like in St. Pete, really beautiful area. And my wife said, "You got 5 years to move wherever you got to move to advance your career." So basically, I said yes to every opportunity. So we moved the family. We had 2 kids at the time now. This is 2017, 2018. I went to do high-rise buildings, and then I learned from there. And the guy who was my boss, the general superintendent, he was 62 years old. He's been doing it for 40 plus years, but I always had a good attitude. I knew how to build a house. I had an idea how to build a house, but he's like, "You're smart enough to know the steps, but I'm going to teach you how to run men." And then it's different. You go from running a house with maybe 10 guys on the job site to running a building with 120 guys on the job site. And they still got to respect you. And now I'm in my early 30s. And then that's how I got my experience. COVID happened and we came back to Palm Beach. My wife is from West Palm. And then I called that developer guy, and then he's like, "Oh, Leo, I said your name 3 times in a conversation today. What are you doing?" It's like, "Oh, I'm in the high rise down in Fort Lauderdale." It's like, "Meet me for lunch in Palm Beach." And I went to for lunch for him. I was like, "I need you to come work for me." I was like, "Okay." So now I'm back on the island. This is January 2021.
Long Beach Island.
Palm Beach Island, right? And literally a month later, the guy that was running all his work decided to leave and to work for somebody else. So all of a sudden, I'm responsible for about $300 million worth of projects. This is retail price. I mean, not construction price. I'm responsible for 5, 6 houses on the island, and I never done it. But what am I going to say? No, I just got to figure it out. You work 6 days a week, 7 days a week, and you just pay your dues. And then eventually, the more you say yes to, from sweeping the floor to doing $150 million house, you'll figure it out and then you learn. Then eventually you said, "Hey, I got a choice to make. Do I want to do this rat race, or do I make the jump to go on my own? Because I just got a PhD to build, There was this really hard house with a really, really distinguished architect on the island, and he's like an artist. It's not even an architect. I call him, he's more of an artist. And it was the hardest house I've ever done in terms of detail and intricacies. And my boss at the time went to the house twice. Once when we finished the structure and once at the end. And then I was like, man, it's like, look at the house I built. And I was like, well, I was here every day. I built it. And so at that point, I decided to go ahead and leave and go on my own.
So, I mean, that is off the ladder. You're on the ladder. You're off the ladder. You're in Miami. You're in West Palm. You're in California. You're in Brazil. So I guess
all over the place.
You came here and you were 10. You said your father was here. Prior to that, he had moved to the States. Is that kind of what happened? And then you came afterwards?
Yeah, my dad moved to the States in 92.
Got it. To Orlando. Okay. The Orlando area.
We probably got to cut that out.
Let me guess. That was a subcontractor work.
There you go. Maybe that'll stay. Did you see that?
I did see that.
Sorry about that. First time on the podcast. Maybe I'll, spend some money next time.
I think we gotta get a painter back there, get that whole thing painted. That's what we need to do. We get yourself a podcast room.
That's the next step. My next office here.
Oh, I like it. You see, I need you in here at some point then too.
Absolutely.
So 10 years old, you moved to Orlando. Obviously, you have no idea what you want to do with yourself. You're 10 years old. You're playing with Matchboxes, and at that time, Atari or Super Nintendo, and you're like, I want to do something with my life, and I don't know what it is. And how did you decide finance was the thing? What made you want it to get? I mean, from 10 years old to we'll say 17, 18.
It wasn't a thing. What happened was I like science. I like the human body. And so I took this class in high school, like anatomy, physiology, and I absolutely love the human body. So I actually went to college and wanted to be a doctor, because I wanted to make something. I figured like no one in my family ever done that. Yeah. So I'm like, what's the hard thing to do? Doctor. Well, first year you take biology and I hated it because now you're learning about, photosynthesis. And you're learning all that stuff. And then you take chemistry 1, chemistry 2. And I was like, forget it. I'm going to go to business. And then when I go to business, you have that hard accounting class. You either do really well or you fail.
Was it statistics, economics? What was it because I mean, again, most people change their majors when they're in college, right? I'm one of the people who went to poli-sci and then I transferred to as business as well because I don't do business. But you make that transition. Were you a freshman and you were like, heck no, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go jump into something else. Or were you
sophomore?
The way there? How far were you down the rabbit hole?
No, just the first year, right? Because that first semester, first fall semester, you take biology 1 and chem 1. And then the spring semester, you take chem 2. And then you realize it's like, nah, forget it. Yeah. Then I'm going to do business. But then why did I choose accounting? Because it doesn't matter what you do in life, whether it's construction, whether you need to know your numbers. You need to understand that. And so for me, I've always wanted to be a business owner. But you got to understand that my background, my parents didn't go to college. I didn't think I was good enough for college. I had a 3, and at that time the GPAs were different, right? So in high school, I had lots of A's, some B's, and 1 C, and that was only in driver's ed. But I'm telling you,
insurance was so expensive.
I wasn't going to go to college. I didn't think about it. And then it wasn't until my best friend's mom was like, Leo, have you applied to college? And I'm like, no. And then that winter break of my senior year, she goes, no, you need to apply. So in 2 weeks, I applied to 5 colleges and I got into 3. And Florida State was one of them. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to Florida State. So
did you board there and everything? Did you live off campus? What did you get the college?
No, I lived off campus because I got accepted late because I had applied late. So there was no on campus living anymore. I didn't have anything planned. I just said, yes, I'm going. And it also is the adventure. I grew up in Orlando. So if you go to Orlando, there's right over by, I went to high school across the street from Universal Studios, Dr. Phillips High School. I went there for 3 years. And then at the age of 18, I turned 18 and I moved out of my house. And then I moved out of my house. So then I went to a different high school at that time. So over by Universal Studios, there's a hotel on an International Drive with a ball on the top. It's still there. At the time, it was Sheraton. That was the gift shop my dad had the film lab in. And that's where, at the age of 15, I worked. I went to high school. I did cross-country practice, and then until 4. Then I took the city bus to the shop, And then at 11 o'clock, I close the gift shop, and then I take the city bus back to
So
go
how
to
do
school the
you
next
run?
day.
Let me ask you that. So I find that consistently through conversations I've had with, again, other entrepreneurs, other business owners, we'll call it running cross country is not a team sport exactly, but at the same time, it's a place where you have to push yourself to do more. And there's no replacement for running. You can't fake it. You either get to point A or point B faster than the next guy. Like, what got you into running? Because it's really interesting that you talked about it a few times now. You talked about the marathon also. Like,
Yeah.
into that, because I don't like to run. I did shot put, I did javelin. I can smoking a quarter mile. After that, I'm gonna die. So, like, how did you get into it?
It was actually a couple things. My parents were really strict. So I wanted to play football, and my dad's like, "You're not playing football." And so, granted, at senior year, I was 6 feet tall. I'm still 6 feet tall, and I weighed 135 pounds. So I was a really scrawny little kid. Also, at the time, this is a off comment there. There's a wrestler named Chris Jericho.
Yep.
Chris Jericho at the time lived in my apartment complex when he started with WCW. And I used to be all about wrestling in 8th grade. And so when I went to high school, I wanted to wrestle. And my dad said no, because he thought that wrestling, like collegiate wrestling or high school wrestling, he thought it was WWF at the time, or WWE now. So the only sport my dad, and I love playing basketball, but then if you go to the courts, there's always fights. Like it wasn't like the best neighborhood. So like one of my friends in 9th grade, he goes, "Hey, you should just come running." My dad said yes. And running, like, look, I went through a period, I went 20 years without seeing my mother. My dad was never at the house. I'm the only male. I have 3 younger sisters, but I grew up with 2 because when I was 18 and I moved out, my last sister was born. But now in my family, it's a blessing because no one's an alcoholic. Everybody's graduated college. Everybody's married and happy. Everybody has a career. And for me, I wanted something different. So it was important for me to like once I knew about college, to set the example and not to fall into those things. Now, my friend dared me to try cross country, and it hurt and I hated it. But it was the only thing my dad said yes to. And then when I was stressed out in high school and college and even the adult life, if I'm stressed out, look, the best conversation you could have in life are the conversations you have with yourself. And running at the time, or even today, it's where I don't listen to music. I just go out and I just let my thoughts free. And I don't have any distractions. And therefore, you tend to feel great after. And then I kept pushing myself. Look, I was an okay runner. Like at the time, we didn't run 5Ks. We ran 3 miles, and my best time was a 16 minutes, 18 seconds, which is an average, call it like 5 minutes and 20 per mile. But I was never good enough to like make a college team or anything like that. But I stuck running with it because it was the way I stress relieved.
It sounds like an outlet for you. So you've
Oh,
used
yeah.
your career through your young adult life to your adult life to help you be successful, to release, because we all need something, right? We need a healthy release. Like, you're drinking a bottle of water right now. Again, it's on a Friday at 4:15. You could be dropping some cervezas, but again, you're doing the right thing. You're drinking a bottle of water. Again, so for you, I mean, for me, I can't imagine. Running is terrible. I can't stand it. I hate it. I hate
You
it.
start walking. It's
Can appreciate it because it's an outlet for you, and it seems to help you have shaped your career, your lifestyle, to get into a college that you didn't even think you were going to go to. Now you're in college, you pick a career, you decide to go down the rabbit hole, and you said you were in finance, you were in for a big like a Price Waterhouse type company. So you get there, you're this runner, you're a college graduate. Tell me about it. Like, you got into this and it wasn't what you thought it was. Was it the company? Was it the accounting? What part of it kind of, I guess, made you want to switch?
well, look, growing up, we don't have a lot of money. So getting into running, it's also the cheapest sport. All you need is good socks and a pair of shoes. So
Fair.
playing football and playing any other sport that requires a lot of equipment, that was never an option for me. Like, my parents didn't have the money. When I graduated, I was sharing a 2-bedroom apartment, and I shared a room with 2 sisters. And our apartment, I think it was called like West Wind Apartment off of Kirkman, and I think it was like 950 square feet. Like, but I don't regret a thing. Like,
Do you feel like it
because
shaped you?
oh, absolutely, I have that grit because of it. So I told myself I'm going to be a millionaire someday. And so I opened this running store. And then I got the opportunity for the houses because I was training this developer. But then I'm like, hey, am I going to be a millionaire selling $100 pair of shoes at a time? That's a lot of pairs of shoes to
Yeah,
sell, right? Well, it's running, so it's not like the Jordans at the time. Or am I going to do it through real estate? So I said, okay, let's go the real estate route. So I started working for this developer. First thing I do is like, hey, let me get my real estate license. And because I think, hey, maybe I'll get some deals. I'll be able to make a little money and be able to sell a house. So I go to the developer and I was like, hey, how come you don't have a real estate license? And then he goes, and not to knock on real estate licenses, everybody has a thing, and I think sales is great. But he goes, hey, I could make the 6% of a house, or I could make the 94% of a house. And I'm like, oh. So although I had the real estate license, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do real estate. I want to do construction. And I just love construction because it's so dynamic. It changes. So look, it follows the same step. It doesn't matter if you're building a $300,000 home or a $10 million home. You follow the same steps. The difference is you do it at a bigger scale. So what helps you succeed is how well you able to manage a group of people to get the work done that needs to be done at the time that needs to be done at. But and that's really what it is. And then there's always so many problems, and you always learn from a problem. And then there's no problem. Okay, problems aren't bad things. Problems is just an opportunity to learn how to do something different. And I really like thrive off of that, learning through mistakes. And I was fortunate because I made a lot of mistakes, but I made a lot of mistakes on somebody else's money.
And do you feel like so? And I love that because when I worked for some nationals as well, I felt the same way. It gave me the ability to kind of fall forward, as I like to call it. I'm sure I didn't coin it, but again, that's what most psychologists, whatever you want to call it falling forward. You know, you're falling forward and you're finding the opportunities for yourself to kind of transition from that, worker mindset to that ownership mindset. And it sounds like everything was culminating for you to put you in that position. Yeah. And it's interesting that you left essentially this business. You were an entrepreneur. You opened up a running store. You were an entrepreneur. You were doing the job. You were doing the thing that makes people like us happy. You were running the business and you transitioned. But I think that's really interesting to figure out in a short period of time. How many years did it take you to kind of transition from the running store to going into construction? Was that a short period of time? Was it long?
Well, I've been married going on 11 years this year, but I've been with my wife since 2012. So we didn't have any kids, but we were engaged, or we're living together.
Mhm.
And I remember this opportunity came by, and we always wanted to have a lot of kids. I got 3. So it's one of those where like, hey, what career path would I put our family at a best financial situation? Look, I don't want to be a millionaire and stop. I mean, look, having $1 million is great, but I'm not thinking 1 million. I'm not thinking 5. I'm not thinking 10. I'm thinking as much as I could go in this lifetime to put my kids and like create a legacy for my family, to put them at a better position than I had. Look, I went 2 years without living with my dad. He came over here. At high school, I was working and helping out, paying bills at the house, taking city buses. And I don't want that for my child. But I love that I went through that.
Yeah. Well,
Like I don't.
our hope here, our hope and from Ladder Legacies, the whole point is we're all working to give the kids, our children, our family, our legacy, something more than we had. A little bit more. Doesn't have to be a lot
Yes.
more. It could be a lot more, but again, generational wealth takes time. For you, do you feel like you're on that road right now? Do you feel like you've found the pathway with construction
Oh
to
yeah.
success that you've been looking for? I mean, that you've been running towards your life?
Yeah. I feel I'm content and I'm satisfied. I love being exhausted. So here you guys think it's fun. It sounds cool on paper. Oh, I own a construction company. Check this out. I called my wife yesterday at 6 p.m. and I was like, hey, what's going on? It's like, oh, kids are driving me crazy. I'm gonna take them to my mother's. So she took her to her mother's, and I'm like, you know what I did? I was like, okay, great. I'm gonna use this opportunity to go work more. I ended up getting home last night until 9:30 at night. I had placed an order for interior doors, so I could have called somebody to go pick them up today, so they could be delivered tomorrow, right? So they could start to work on Monday. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it myself. So at 8 o'clock, I'm picking up interior doors, putting them on my truck, strapping it, taking it down to the project. And then this morning, I had a guy come available that finished early in another project yesterday, and I didn't waste any time. I was efficient. So, but I was dead tired, but I was really satisfied. It's really satisfying. Look, I think working for yourself is harder, but working for yourself gives you more control of your time. And family for me is my freedom. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If it's my daughter or my son has something going on at 10:30 in the morning, I'm not missing it. I'm not asking permission. Doesn't mean I'm not working. 2 Fridays ago, my kids' school, we go to a small, like, micro school. There's only maybe about 30 students of it. They had an exhibition. It was from 12:30, from 11 o'clock until 2:30 on the Friday. I went to the exhibition. I was there. I didn't miss it. Guess what? I finished it. This is in Coral Springs, by the way. I live in Boca. My office is in West Palm Beach. So I'm driving an hour south to go be at the school. My kids were happy that I was there. The moment it was done, I got back to the office. I got back to work. I didn't get home until 8, 9 o'clock that night to catch up the work that I wasn't able to do. But I had the freedom and the choice. That's success to me. Like, if I could make $1 billion, great. Success to me is being there for my family when they need me to be there for my family.
So
And I think that's
what it is, strategic sacrifice. So you're sacrificing your personal time. So how do you balance it? Your sacrifice is personal time. You could have gone home last night, watched a rerun of something, watched the game, put on Netflix, whatever, makes your heart desire out there. But you didn't. You went out there and you moved doors, you moved trim. So what made you do that though? So what is it inside of you? Is it the runner? Is it the immigrant kid who's now making a name for himself? Is it something you were instilled from your parents? Is it just that burning desire? That's the question. How do you get off that ladder and how do you search for that legacy? What's that fire in you that other people need to be looking for or need to identify?
I don't know. I think I've heard something when I was younger, like maybe in my running, like in my mind, it's like, it's easy to work hard. Like, when you want to work hard, it's easy to work hard. What sets an individual apart is doing work when you don't want to do it. And that's where the magic happens. I think everybody in every field of work or business or personal search, the magic happens at the suck, at the this thinks phase. But
Yeah.
you push through, and then look, 90% of the time, I don't understand why I push through. I do it because it has to be done. That's simple as that. Like, you get it done, but then when you get it done, and then something happens the next day, and you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did this. I am so much more ahead that I did this. So, for example, we're doing this recording right now. It's a Friday. The Panthers are playing tonight. I have season tickets, but I got things I gotta do. So I sold my tickets for tonight's game, and I'm gonna have it on the computer here in the office. But I have a project going on that I need to, like, fine tune the schedule if I want to get it done by September. So that's the sacrifices that I'm making on the Friday from a Florida Panthers season ticket holder. Obviously I'm going to watch hockey. Obviously I'm going Sunday. Don't get me wrong. But, and like you said, hey, it's Friday. You could have been drinking happy hour. Yeah, I could have been at the game. But I found that this is important. So we got to get it done. And I got to get this schedule done because it's important. So you got to sacrifice personal, what is it called? Not satisfaction. It's like, you got to sacrifice today for tomorrow. And the more you do it, it becomes easier and easier to do. But then you realize how, like, it just flourishes. You give yourself more opportunity.
So is preparation the key to success then? Is that what it is? Is it sacrifice? Is it a mixture between both of it? Is that what forged you the ability to have the fire? Is it the family? Is it the 3 kids? Is it the wife? What is it then? Because that's what I think I find most is when you get on when people, do these podcasts, when you read all these self-help books, you get taught by people who are telling you what to do since the 1920s. They give you a lot of great guidelines on how to be successful, how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah.
But how do you have the fire every day to wake up at whatever time in the morning you wake up? My guess is 5:30, 6 o'clock at the latest. Yeah. To get
4:50 is my alarm.
4:50
every day.
Yeah, you're running out there in bed. So like, what is it? Is it just the fire? Just you
it's having a greater purpose besides yourself. And so, look, we're talking to each other as men and as business owners, but as also, there's certain stages of life that a male goes through.
Agreed.
And I think, and I'm going to speak for a lot of us because this is my experience and a lot of people can relate to. Look, You go to college, you have fun. I went to Florida State. It was a #1 party school at the time. It was great. I wasn't focused on anybody. I intentionally started a business in Miami Beach, and I'm like, hey, I'm a business owner in Miami Beach. I'm going to be this playboy. The second girl I go on a date with is the woman that I end up marrying. Goodbye, playboy years. But something changed in me. I went from this selfish 20-some-year-old to loving somebody more than I love myself. And it was a weird feeling. It was a weird, like, okay, well, it's not about me anymore. It's about us. So every decision I make, it's about us. And then you become a father for the first time, and it's like, hey, it's not about us anymore. It's about our family. It's not about just me and her. It's about me and the family. So now I have I have a heck of a wife. She's such a champion. Like, she allows me to do what I need to do in order to keep pushing. And she understands the sacrifices that we making, and having a partner that's on your side is a great deal. My daily purpose is, faith is really important to me. I am Christian, so my relationship with Jesus is #1. My wife is #2. My kids are #3. And if I put those things in that order, career just falls in place.
So do you feel like your faith has helped you then? Is that something? Because I mean, that's a big thing. Again, as some of the podcasters may or may not be aware, I'm a Freemason. I don't talk about it a lot, but having a higher belief in a deity, whatever that faith may be, in this sense, the Trinity, the Lord, is that something that you feel like has helped ground you, keep your feet connected to the ground, so that you can go through, like you said, these challenges that men go through year over year, the changes of life? Do you feel that has helped you or kept you grounded?
Faith is definitely huge, especially, look, I went on my own 2.5 years ago. And typically the most difficult part of any business is the first 2 to 3 years. Yeah. And so I was fortunate to have a great client when I started with, and then things slowed down like at the end of last year. And I got like so many things in the pipeline that like just happened. And with construction, you think a job is going to start next month. It doesn't. It starts 3 months later because there's a delay in the permit process. There's a delay in funding, and then there's always a problem. But then having faith and really working hard to, like I said, Jesus is my guy. Having that purpose, it's easier to recognize that every no leads to a greater yes. So it doesn't mean it's a no right now. I mean, it doesn't mean it's a no forever. It means it's a no right now. And so I am acutely more aware of opportunities that I would feel I got looked over or I didn't get it. Because of faith, it helps me recognize that, like, hey, I didn't get that opportunity to get this bigger opportunity over here. And I got this opportunity over here. In order to 3 to 4 years down the line, I'm going to get that opportunity over there. Because of that, look, I'm not a millionaire, but I'm telling you, I'm already a millionaire. My attitude is 10x. It's not the money. It's the ability that I'm going to be able to do with that money. Or the good I'm going to be able to do with that money. Look, my lifestyle is X. I bought a 2-bedroom house in Boca. I remodeled it. I made it a 4-3. Sure, I kept it small. I don't have a huge mansion. I don't know. My lifestyle doesn't change very much. I just want to be able to have an opportunity to, like, hey, if I'm really making that much money, maybe I'll be able to hire my family to come work with me. And then it becomes like, you get to step back and you get to say, wow, look at all these people that are able to provide for their families because of the decisions I made. And that's really cool. That's like really rewarding. But look, I already know that I made it. It just, I got to be patient with the time. Popped up here. Recording stopped. Did you see that?
No, you're still good.
Oh, it says my thing just says here, we're recording stopped because there's a change on your audio device. Oh, my thing died? Can you still hear me or no?
Yeah, you're still good. Let's see, recording. Yeah, it says we're still recording.
Sorry, I think what happened was my receiver, the battery's low and it probably just died. That's probably what it was.
Oh, good. We'll cut this part out.
Let me see if I could plug it in real quick. So that way we'll keep the receiver. Hang on a second. That's what it is, buddy. Oh, we're good now. I was able to plug it in and we'll keep it going. Let me just... All right, we're still recording. We're good?
Yep, we're good to go.
All right. What were we talking about?
So you're talking about faith, about the ability to overcome and persevere for me, I can only imagine. I mean, I'm obviously in the same boat as you. I run multiple businesses, try to make something of myself as well. And people think that being rich is money. People think it's valuables. Being rich, I watched something about Bob Marley this morning. And it was an interview he did prior to him passing a few years beforehand. And they had asked, the interviewer said, "Hey, are you rich?" And he's like, "What does rich mean?" He's like, do you have a lot of money?" He's like, "I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of loved ones." And I think that's what separates the true entrepreneurs, the people who want to make it, like you talked about. You want to make it big, not because you're looking to get a 150-foot yacht. Sure, boat sounds great. We live in Florida. We all love it. But at the same time, it's about giving it forward and paying it forward. And finding organizations that are worthwhile for us to do that with. And, I'm sure LuxCon does that. I'm sure you're into that as well. And I guess the real question for you is, if you can leave a message behind, like for the future generations, for your kids, because at some point, hopefully they grow up and maybe this is still out there, this podcast, and they hear this, what's the message that you would give them?
Well, it'd be two, right? I think one, it's like, was it like Jocko? That the ex-Navy SEAL talk about like embrace the suck. I think that's because really, I think magic really happens. Magic happens in the suck. Like magic really happens. Like you build character inside. But then once you embrace the suck and you really get good at something, like have a spirit of gratitude. Because gratitude just makes you appreciate all the hard work you put in. I think if you work very hard and you embrace the suck and you're winning, and let's say financially you're winning, but then you're not grateful about it, have you really won? I think my thing would be like, hey, embrace the suck and then have a spirit of gratitude. Be really grateful for the opportunities that you have. And be grateful for the opportunities that you didn't get. Because every no leads to a greater yes.
And do you really feel like that greater no and that greater yes are so intertwined? It's connected out there and you're going to find it. I mean, from what you've said so far is you're going to find the mountaintop. It's not about how long it takes. It's about how you get there is what
you see the mountaintop. You're at the bottom of the mountain. You can see the top. You just know how to get there. And the problem is, as you're climbing and you hit challenges, do you still choose to take a step forward when the easier thing to do is to turn around and feel comfortable again? You can't be comfortable.
Nice. And like your day to day, that's what is separating you from the rest of, we'll call it the Palm Beach guys, the guys that are out here right now. I mean, obviously it's no surprise. There's a lot of people moving down from the Northeast. Some of them are coming down here to do building. Some of them don't understand Florida is a very different animal when it comes to the building industry. Do you feel like embracing the suck, the Jocko way, has helped you find or at least search for the peak?
Well, I mean, embracing the suck helps you get over the hard times. But then what happens is when you do have a client, okay, what's different about me than like the client that's in Palm Beach? Like, I don't feel like I have to rip you off to make a fair profit. I'd rather work with a client more in a partnership attitude, in a partnership manner. Then I want both of us to win. I don't want just to win by myself because it wouldn't feel any good. And I feel, telling you right now, if you have $1 million, let's just put a number, $1 million, it's a lot more in the island, right? It costs you. The island it's more expensive for a couple of reasons. The city is really difficult. So you gotta hire somebody that's navigated that before. So if somebody's charging you 30% more on the island, that's the truth. At least 30%. That's fair because they're so restrictive. It takes longer. You can't go in and out. It's just difficult. For example, you can't even park on the street. You need like a parking pass, and then you can only get 3. And it's like $600 per car per month. It's expensive. So obviously,
do you think that's because they're trying to restrict people on the roadways because they want to make money? Why do you think they do stuff like that?
Because you got to be able to follow the rules. You got to be able, like, you want to play in our yard, you want to play in our sandbox, you have to abide by the rules. So if you make the rules really difficult, then only those who are willing to like take the time to follow the rules will probably get those opportunities. But there's also guys that take advantage on the island, right? Why is it is it fair to say there's a 30% price difference of a house over the other side of the bridge to Palm Beach Island, yes, that's fair. But the moment you're charging like 60% more, it's crazy. But
And
I don't want to misspeak on like on other builders and whatnot, you know.
um,
So
I have a few clients that, I mean, hopefully at some point, well, I'll have here as well, that we talk about this all the time, because either they live on the island or, they work on the island as well, doing sub work or, GC work. And, they tell me the struggles they go through with working on Palm Beach Island, that it's not all cracked up to be. I mean, it's great. There's great people over there. There's great businesses, but at the same time, it is a struggle. And do you find yourself with the struggle of working on Palm Beach Island? Because are you doing more custom homes, or are you tract building? What is kind of more LuxCon about?
actually, right now I'm not on the island.
Good for
So
you.
I finished a big project on the island, which was really near Rush Limbaugh's estate, and that's when I said, you know what, I just got a PhD in this piece of art here, and I decided to go on my own. So what I did was I'm doing a few spec homes because I'm a young guy. I'm kind of new. No one, so I decided to invest in myself. So any savings that I had, I invested in a property, and I am building a spec home. So that should be ready to go. I should be finishing up in July. I'm
Nice.
also doing I met a young developer. So I'm doing a house. It's going to be a spec now. It's his house. And then I got another project with another group. It's going to be another spec. It's in Deerfield Beach on that Cove neighborhood. It's going to be 80 feet of water frontage. So
Wow.
that project is going to be great. Yeah, that one's going to be really nice. But then that same group that got that house, we already discussing other potential like multi-unit, luxury, like 20 townhomes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And somebody who started like 2 years ago on their own, how did I get that opportunity? Well, I knew I was very blessed. So the way I got my first client to make the decision to leave was, I do jujitsu, although I'm a little bit at a break right now. So my professor locally, he's a UFC coach, and he's a great guy, really knowledgeable. And he goes, "Hey, I have an athlete who needs some help." I went to go talk to that athlete. They're UFC athletes right now, and they hired an unlicensed contractor, and they got this unlicensed person took over $1 million from them, and so they don't trust anybody. The fact that I was recommended by my jujitsu coach, it was, and now like I was texting with her yesterday because I have some guys in her house redoing a bathroom that she wanted to redo. So that was my first job. And so that job, I was like, I had to make the decision. It's like, hey, do I stay with this developer or do I go on my own? And I decided to give all my time to that client, and then eventually got other jobs after that. So when that job was done and I had some money saved up, I was like, hey, let me build a spec, and then I'm going to build another spec. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm not waiting for somebody to hire me. Whether or not I have a client, I'm building. And then if I make myself busy, then more work just comes. I saw something on social media maybe like 3 months ago, and it's so clear. So on a drive to your office today, the question, the guy goes, "How many red cars did you see?" And then your answer is like, "Yeah, I saw a few." But if I told you, the guy goes on to say, if I gave you $1,000 for every red car you see on the way to your office, you'd be looking for red cars, right? Because you want to get the most amount of money.
Mhm.
The same is with opportunity. Opportunity is always around us. Once we are looking for opportunity, we find it. So you just have to open your eyes and really, really find it, like, to see what opportunities you have out there. And so that's what I did. Like, whether or not I'm building for a client or not building for a client, I'm building. Every little dollar that I had saved, I got a partner and I built a spec home. That spec home turned into another house. That other housing turned into another house. This third house is turning into 20 townhomes. 20 townhomes is, can you imagine what that's going to turn into?
Oh yeah, all right.
So it's one of, and so I became the roofing. Like, I'm also a licensed roofer. So
Yeah. Do you have a roofing company, or have you started that yet?
yeah, so LuxCon Builders. So you can see here it's the CGC, which is a general contracting license, and you have the CCC, which is your roofing license. So I had to take the test and then like pass that part. The reason being, I was slow. I was a little bit slow at the time, and I was like, hey, I had invested into this property, but I was in the permitting process. I didn't really have any clients. I can't be idle. So I said, what's another thing that I could that I could study or get a license for? So I said, you know what? Let me do roofing as a recession-proof business. meaning that like if we have a market crash, like God forbid we have a market crash, which I don't think we will, like we had in 2007, 2008, and but a hurricane comes through, I'm still as a licensed roofer be able to survive and put food on the table for my family, you know? So, and now every time I do a house, the money that I would have paid the roofer to do, it's more money that goes back in my pocket. And then so now I'm beginning to, I've personally done closer to, I don't know, I've been licensed maybe going on like 15 to 16 roofs now. So
Wow.
now I'm really familiar. So it's kind of like, hey, I have these two jobs and the third one about to start, and they're different phases. But all of a sudden you do a roof 30 days from like, hey, from signing a contract to submitting for a permit to tear off the roof and getting it done. It's a quicker turnaround. So you have cash flow that way. So just making opportunities happen. That's the thing.
So always constantly searching is the secret, or is it just waiting for them to come?
Oh no, you can't wait. Those who wait are the ones who are going to eat the crumbs, you know?
Hey, bird gets down.
Yeah. There was, some people know Grant Cardone, and, people have different opinions on Grant. But back in, I don't know, back in 2009, 2010, he had wrote a book called like 10X. And I thought it was a good book. Basically, it's like whatever goal you have, make your goal 10 times bigger. Because if you fail and you fail 70% of that goal, you're now 7 times bit more ahead than what your original goal was going to be.
Yep.
And I think I really try to apply that in everything. Just the bigger it is, the bigger the problem, the bigger the project, the more I want it. Because that's how, that's what drives me. 10x to 10x it. I'll figure it out. I say yes to it now, and I'll figure it out, and that's always worked out.
Is that the entrepreneur mindset though? Is that it? Is that the secret right there? Is being the guy or the gal who's willing to just do it and figure it out? Because I feel like we're in a society today, and I don't think it doesn't matter the generation or YX, millennial, whatever you want to call it, but in a society where people are so gun shy to try new things, to go out there and think differently. We used to call it challenging the status quo in the corporate world. Do you find that's what helps? Is that the thing? Is that part of the secret sauce that goes into finding success as an entrepreneur?
Look, being an entrepreneur, I think it's being okay with failing. I think that's regardless of what others think. I think once I got married and I had kids and I had a wife, then I really don't care. I mean, sure, I care. I'm a human, but I care more what my wife and my kids think of me, regardless of what the world thinks of me. Because that's the people that I'm trying to make the impression on. That's the people that I'm working so hard to leave a legacy for. So for me, failing is just part of the fun. It's kind of like, and it's never too late. I mean, because look at it. I thought I was going to be a doctor in freshman year in high school. So for freshman year of college, right? So like 19 years old, I changed my major. Okay, no big deal. I didn't lose a lot of time. Then I get a master's degree in accounting, have this student debt. I took the CPA exam. It was 4 exams. I couldn't pass the tax part. I took the tax like 3 times. I was like, forget it. I'm not doing accounting anymore. And then I decided to open a business. And it's like, man, I worked so hard to open this business. And I had the opportunity to learn something new. And I've never done it. And now here I am. But I really love construction. So I'm really glad that I don't think I'd do anything else. I mean, never say never, but I really enjoy construction. I think I'm a chatty person. I like meeting people. I like challenges. I like hard problems.
Yeah, nothing in life easy is worth it, right? It's got to be difficult in some way, shape, or form, where you're just playing the game on easy mode, and it sounds like you like to play on extra hard.
Well, it's kind of like going out for a run, and I think maybe that kind of started in my mind. It's like I never finished a run or a race that I said to myself, "Man, I wish I didn't do that." So it's one of those where I'm also like I like adventure. I've done when I was younger. I did a few Ironman from the running, and I had done like one sprint race. And at the time, I had a buddy, and he's a coach now, and he's like, "Oh, look, I just signed up for an Ironman." I'm like, "Which one?" Like New Zealand. He's like, "Oh, hey, I'll sign up too." And then my second race was Ironman New Zealand. I've been doing triathlons. I've done one sprint, and my second race was like I never ran that distance, but I just knew it's 1 foot in front of the other, and it was cold. The water was freezing. It was really windy. It was pouring rain, and I finished it like 12 hours later, and I was so happy. Because I'm like, I never finished something that I started. Like, I never said, I wish I didn't do that. It's like, do the hard thing, finish it. And then 99% of the time you say, I'm glad I did it. Go do the hard thing,
So don't live with regrets of not trying is really what it is. It's better to try and fail than it is to regret never have actually been trying at all.
Make failing normal again. That we should have that on the slogan.
Make failing normal again.
Yeah, because people think that like I fail. What is social media gonna think? Who cares, man? And you're never too old. You're never too young. Just do it. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it's kind of like they say, hey, insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Well, do something. If it doesn't work, change it a little bit. See if it works better. And then you keep changing it until eventually you're going to change it. And then you move forward, you advance. And then you do it a few things and then you move forward and you advance. And next thing you know, you're like, hey, now you got momentum. You got to be certain in yourself. Faith and family helps me through that. I already made it. Like, I'm going to look back. This is the first podcast I've ever done. I guarantee you, I'll write myself $1 million check right now that in 3 years, I'm going to cash that. If not in 2. I 100% believe it. But if I fail, I don't think I will. But if I fail, man, I'll be a lot closer to that goal than it is if I didn't have a big goal. That's what you got to do for yourself.
And it sounds like setting goals is something you like to do and trying to hit them.
Yeah. It just, think of yourself like, can I improve 1% today? And if you think of it, in 100 days, you'd be 100% better than yourself. Now it doesn't seem like a big pill to swallow. Tell yourself, you know what? I'm going to do 0.5% better today in my effort. I'm just going to put 0.5% more effort today than I did yesterday and then the day before. Then in 200 days, now that's easy to understand, right? Do you understand how like every year you do that? I don't know what the math works out to, but imagine if you just made a conscientious effort to be 0.5% better in everything you do. Every relationship you make, give it 0.5% more every day. Imagine how much better your personal relationship be with your wife and your kids.
I think it's very well said. And I 100% agree with you. I think people forget that the small steps lead into big ones, and life is not a marathon. Yeah, there'll be some areas where you have to slow down. It's not a race either. It's not a slow trot. It's a mixture of everything. It takes an entire village to be successful, but also takes a mindset of a hunter and a gatherer. There is no one way to make it work. Moving from the ladder to legacy, there's no one way to get it done. It's just about actually moving forward, putting that foot in front of the other one, like you said, and taking the risk and taking the chance to fail forward so you can find the success. And I guess, one question, I guess we'll call it the big one I have for you, and I'm asking this of all the people I bring on the podcast, is if you could meet one person, whether dead or alive, doesn't matter who it is, if you could meet that person and ask them one question, who would that person be? And what is the one question you would ask them?
That's I'm choking up here, So it goes back to faith. Right? So I want to like talk to Jesus, and then I would ask him like, why? Why'd you die for us? I didn't deserve it. Yeah. So
I think that goes back to what you said, though. Sometimes it's the faith, right? He put his faith in us that we would return it in kind. Right. And I think you're living that life right now by supporting your kids, by supporting your wife, supporting your community. And what you're doing is living the life that he would want all of us to live in that way. And I think it's admirable.
I don't deserve it. I just gotta try to show that love out to everybody I meet. And we're all imperfect, but that I wasn't. For the record, whoever's listening to this, I didn't get any questions beforehand. So it's like, hey, these are real emotions because I don't deserve it. No one does. And it's kind of like, going back, I don't want to make it about faith, but it's like, hey, that's what drives me. Right? It's one of my whys.
The recent years, I think it's become so much more important for people to have that faith and, call it the struggle, call it this generation through 9/11, Iraqi freedom, COVID, all the things that have transpired in the last, 15, 20 years. I think a lot of us, a lot of younger men, and I'm sure women as well, but I'm just not one, so I can't speak on it, have figured out that there is more out there. And if we don't embrace it, we will not be able to fall forward anymore and fail forward. And we have to embrace it. Like you said, embracing the suck and embracing more than ourselves. There's so much more out there. There's so much more. We are just one little piece of the pie. and all of us coming together and putting that right opportunity for each person, the right mindset, giving it, paying it forward. I mean, it's words to live by. And I think, again, my hope is to have people on this podcast that are doing that. And that's part of the reason why I wanted you on it. And I think you embody that. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time, again, being open to have these conversations. This is stuff that, being real and authentic. I mean, like you said, this isn't scripted. This is exactly what it is. It's just real life and business owners trying to figure out how to make it through, because it's not easy. But at the same time, we all have each other, and all we can do is work well together. And I think I see great success in your future, and I can't wait to see that high rise that you put up with your big name on the top of it.
It's coming. It's coming. And I think, look, because like I'm telling you, I don't come from money. Like I come from the northeast part of Brazil. My mom still lives over there. We're not that close. I mean, we talk, and I love my family. I went to visit there 2 years ago, and I never been back. Over 30 years. Like, my family's here, my life is here. I'm really proud to be an American. But I think as we succeed, I think we should be able, I think as part of success outside of your family, I think it's important that maybe, like, I want to be a mentor someday. You'd be good to be able to mentor like a young kid that maybe that like didn't have the opportunity like I had. Like I didn't have, I just want to be able to maybe mentor somebody and give them the opportunity to make a change for their life and their legacy. And I think I'm in this position because, my family life, I wasn't really close to my family. But then my best friend's family since the age of 15, and we just didn't bring him up, but they just loved me. And they're the one who said, hey, you should apply for college. When I turned 18, I was a senior in high school and I moved out. I moved in with them for 6 months, and they're the one who loved me. They're like, this American family. I'm like this Brazilian brown boy that like, and they're like, hey, they're come from Mississippi and Colorado, and I call them mom and dad. Like they're still my mom and dad today. And so like my best friend is I was the best man at his wedding. He's like, I call him my brother. Like I text with him every other day. Like we're making plans like, hey, game 7 in Tampa, I need you to fly down. We'll go to a game if the Panther, but we beat the Lightning in 4 and in 5. It's I felt that they loved me, and then because somebody just paid a little bit of attention, pushed me, put me in the right direction, and then I already had this natural like grit. And now as I get bigger and I grow, I eventually want to put my kids in a better position, but I also want to give opportunities to like maybe a neighborhood kid or maybe my child's friend, because that's what happened. Like my friend's family kind of took me under their wing, and they kind of kept me between the navigational beacons, right? And then say, hey, go this direction.
And I'm very much sure that you're going to get that opportunity. I think it will be put in front of you sooner than later, because you putting out the good vibes into the world, they're going to give that opportunity to come back to you tenfold. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Well, you have anything else last minute before we jump off of here to give our audience? How about your, you got an Instagram handle or anything for LuxCon that we can kind of share into the world, plug the business?
Sure. It's, I'm not fancy like with computers, but I like to tell people what I'm doing from time to time. So if you want to keep up with some projects that I do, my Instagram handle is pretty simple, at LuxCon Builders. And it's LuxCon is short for luxury construction, LuxCon. And coincidentally, it's like, the letters of my name, Leo Carnero. So it's like LC kind of works out.
Triple entendre. I love it.
There you go. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity and you inviting me here. I've never done anything like this. I had no idea where the conversation was going to go. I really do. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that, we get to do business together and network and go get bigger together.
Heck yeah, buddy. I appreciate you too. And I'm sure we'll be at just so everyone knows, we met at this organization networking thing called NLX, plug NLX out there, since, they did kind of get us together. And, I'm excited to have some of the other members on here, and excited to have some more conversations offline also. So I hope to have you back on here again. And I appreciate you, man.
Good Friday. Happy Friday, and then go Panthers. They play in about 2 hours. So game 3,
Maybe.
second round. All right, we'll see you, buddy.
See you later.